You're watching the second national race for the APBA for this 2002 racing season. Second stop on the Pro Series Tour. Of course, after Marathon, Florida, we're going to be going to Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Of course, looking forward to the national championships in St. Petersburg and the Worlds in Key West. There's Money Shot on the right side. All right, there up ahead you see Drab Buoy on Ice, your leader in Super Cat, and your leader in Super Cat Light. It's How Sweet It Is with Brent Leach and John Peterson. 36-foot Eliminator. How Sweet It Is. Took a first place in Daytona, first place in Daytona Super Cat Light, and a first place in Daytona in P1 class. Also a third in Marathon. Currently tied with In Motion again in Super Cat Light for first place. There goes a piece of the boat off How Sweet It Is. As we said, rough waters here in Cape Cod. Grant Leach, the driver, John Peterson, the throttle man. They're both from California. Powered by Merc Cruiser, two 500 horsepower inboards. How Sweet It Is in first place in Super Cat Light. On board, How Sweet It Is at the start. How Sweet It Is in first place. There you see that piece of the boat flying off because of the bumpy waters. WHM Motorsports on the outside in second place in Super Cat behind Draft Buoy on Ice. Tommy Bahama on the right side. Second place in the national point standings in P class. How Sweet It Is with Brent Leach and John Peterson. Slightly ahead, there's Emotion on the outside. Emotion. Now, How Sweet It Is took a first place in Daytona. Also a third place in Marathon. And a second place in Cape Cod. As we said, right now it is in second place in the national point standings. Around the turn, How Sweet It Is. Brent Leach and John Peterson. Carried by two 500 horsepowered Mercruiser inboards. On board, How Sweet It Is. Brent Leach, the driver. John Peterson, the throttle man. They're both from California. Brent from Mira Loma. John from Galena. On board, How Sweet It Is earlier at the start. Your helicopter shot. By the way, our helicopter company is Helicopter Express Incorporated. Scott Ryan is the pilot. Did a great job for us. Sweet It Is a 36-foot Eliminator. Brent Leach is the driver. John Peterson is the throttle man. Mary Cruiser Power, 2 500-horsepower inboards. Took a first place in Daytona. Also a third place in Marathon. Second place in Cape Cod. Currently in second place in the national point standings. And currently right now in second place in class. How sweet it is. Brent Leach and John Peterson, driver and throttleman. They're from California. WHM Motorsports on the outside. On board, how sweet it is. How sweet it is, currently in second place in the national point standings. Supercat Light inboard. Brent Leach and John Peterson. 36-foot Eliminator. Currently in second place. Forward, we just saw Dirty Duck, followed by How Sweet It Is in second, and Liquid Metal in third. Dirty Duck is your winner, number one in Supercat Light inboard. Dirty Duck. In Supercat Light outboard, Snake Man Racing is on top. Got a first place, followed by Critical Lift in second, and Money Shot in third place. Snake Man Racing, Checkered Flag, and Supercat Light outboard. So those are your final results for this last race here in Cleveland. All right, now here are your national point standings for the three respective classes. First off, in Supercat, it's Drambuie on ice, followed by WHM Motorsports, Tommy Bahama in third, and DeSantis Chevrolet in fourth. Now, Drambuie on ice has 567 points, WHM 546, and Tommy Bahama 534. There you can see they're all fairly close, so it could go down right to the wire in the next race here for the national point standings in Super Cat. In Super Cat Light inboard, it's In Motion again, followed by How Sweet It Is, Dirty Duck in third, and Liquid Metal. Again, we have a situation here in this class. In Motion again, 549, How Sweet It Is, 535, and Dirty Duck, 533. Again, very close, 1 through third place, could go down to the wire in the next race. And finally, in Super Cat Light Outboard Triple, Snake Man Racing in first place, followed by Critical Lift, Money Shot in third, and Flowmaster in fourth. Now, very close between Snake Man Racing and Critical Lift. Snake Man Racing with 549 points, Critical Lift with 548. So there you know, the next race will tell the story going down to the wire in Super Cat Light Outboard Triple. So those are your national point standings after Cleveland in these respective classes. So we've had great racing, highly competitive racing here in Cleveland, but most of all, safe racing. Now, before we go, there are a few people that we would like to thank. First off, the entire staff of the APBA for orchestrating a fine event. Also, Gary and Nancy Johnson for their fine camera work. Our helicopter pilot, Mr. Nick McMahon, for his fine services here in Cleveland. Also, we'd like to have you visit our new website, www.freezeframevideo.net. And also, we'd like to tell you that all races are available on DVD as well as the VHS format. So, this is Vince Lipari wishing you a fond farewell from Cleveland, Ohio. See you at the next APBA race in Corpus Christi, Texas. Bye, everyone. All right, let's go with How Sweet It Is now. How Sweet It Is in second place in Super Cat Light inboard. It's a 36-foot Eliminator, Mercruiser powered, 2 500-horsepower inboards. We've got Brent Leach as the driver. He's also the throttle man, and Patty Fields is the navigator. Patty, by the way, is Brent's sister. Brent from Mira Loma, California. Patty from Scottsdale, Arizona. They took a third place in the national championships in the Bahamas this year. How Sweet It Is. In second place, in Super Cat Light. Now, John Peterson, the owner of this boat, is in the old How Sweet It Is boat in Super Cat. On board with How Sweet It Is, Brent Leach and Patty Fields. "36-foot Eliminator, Mercury powered." Super Cat class light inboard in motion again. Number 1, followed by How Sweet It Is in second. Zip Express in third. In motion again, dominating Super Cat light inboard, getting the checkered flag in that class. Both In Motion Again and Drambuie on Ice, your national champions in their respective classes. So highly competitive racing today, but most of all safe racing. Of course, the big story today was WHM Motorsports, which had a chance to finish in second place in Super Cat, but ran over a buoy and was penalized and fell from second to fourth place. Now, before we go, there are a few people that we would like to thank. First off, the entire staff